What is going on, everybody? Welcome to week 3 of Look Who's Chalking. Did you play Mike Evans in your flex like Joe Blow Public did last week? And we had the audacity to criticize it. Welcome back for another week of Look Who's Chalking. I'm here with Gary. Gary, how is it going? I know we were texting a little bit over the weekend. We were right with quite a few calls. We happen to differ a little bit on a certain crustometer. I mostly stayed away from that Ravens game that I had deemed in between full crust and pure crust, but I did trust your men's warehouse pick of the week in T. Higgins, which technically I think are 4 for 4. I mean,
Yeah.
we've had Chubb, ETN week 1, Debo, Higgins week 2. Well, I think I'd say we're off to a pretty good start this year on a macro level.
Yeah, I really liked last week's slate, and I think we had a pretty good read on it, both on this show throughout the week at ETR. I know you, I'm sure had, I know you had some good lineups as well. So I think we did a good job. And credit to Joe Blow Public, who had some very good reads in his lineup as well. And you mentioned the audacity. I had the audacity to tell him not to play the Buccaneers defense with Mike Evans, and that is a rule that I make in my lineups. And I mean, that was optimal. So there you go on that front. But week 2 was fun.
There has to be some sort of saying, like, even a broken clock is right twice a day. Like something every Joe Blow gets it. I'll come up with something by the end of the episode.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I feel like we've had a good read so far. Looking forward to hopefully keeping it going here in week 3.
What I saw when I looked at this slate, I've done this new thing, by the way. If you're closer to right now, I'm in between a a Charlie Bucket type of player where you just have 2 tickets like Joe Blow Public and go into the night, and somebody like yourself. I don't do any of the max entries, 150 entries, but I'm doing, single entries, 3 entries, and when you add them all up, there ends up being quite a few. And what I do is I put my early picks or like my early sniffs on the week in like the $1 lineups. And what I noticed this week, it's very tough to build a solid roster if you're trying to involve yourself with some of the better quarterbacks and the stacks associated with them. There are a lot of high-priced talents in pretty damn good matchups that are really hard to afford if you're going to play one of the good quarterbacks. My first thought was like, wow, if you're trying to actually build a full lineup, it would really benefit you to have a cheaper quarterback this week. But then as you're looking up at the top of the board, oh my God, you have Mahomes against Chicago in what looks like it should be his first spot to really throw a beating. Obviously, he wants to get those numbers up. You always have the ability of Josh Allen. You have Lamar against a pass defense that's getting absolutely torched by anybody. I mean, it's only 2 games, but by anybody who plays. There's so many good matchups up there. You have the potential Minnesota Chargers game. I know you did your first look show. Were you kind of having a similar type of read when evaluating this slate?
Yeah, and there's a reason right now that like Kirk Cousins and Geno Smith are coming through as 2 of your top owned quarterbacks on the week. And Kirk, it makes sense, right? I think was my main takeaway is, are you attacking this Chargers-Vikings game or do you want to pivot? And I think most lineups, when you have a 54-point total, 2 defenses that really can't stop much right now, most lineups, I think I want a piece of it, even if that means playing the defenses and kind of pivoting away from the offense.
But is there an opportunity potentially to utilize an old strategy of sneaking points out the side door that I used to talk about? You're saying by doing it by defenses, and I know, we're still evaluating the slate as a whole, but how about something like we did week 1 duds or week 2 studs, or how about I screwed you in week 2 and now I'm going elsewhere, but people like me and you can kind of collect them. How about a little bit of Josh Kelly this weekend against the Vikings D, which is a whole hell of a lot different than he faced last week. And we saw, the Vikings can just be chewed up in all capacities. So you always know Mike Williams gets lower ownership. So you're talking about leaving Keenan Allen coming off that massive week on the table, leaving Justin Jefferson on the table. I understand you don't want to do that. Joe Blow Public is shrieking right now hearing that he can't play Keenan Allen or Justin Jefferson. But what do you think about a Kelly Mike Williams secondary stack?
Well, so here's the thing, right? You mentioned pricing being tight, and it is, which kind of pushes you right to that mid tier, right? So Kelly 5,400 underpriced for the role still. I mean, regardless of the outcome of last week, underpriced for the role. Mike Williams, 6K, still had like 8-9 targets. Like the role's still there for him.
8
And
catches, I believe.
Yeah, 8 catches. There you go. 10 targets, something like that. So the yes, these are the intuitively the spots that you think the field would go away from after they bust in week 2. But you also mentioned how DFS players are getting smarter. It's not just that; it's the pricing and how tight the pricing is. That those are your 2 most owned running flex position players on the week right now in our early returns in Josh Kelly and Mike Williams. So
I mean, well, you know what? Look, man, I'm a guy. I got plenty.
No, it makes sense.
I'm
though,
like
right?
a watch peddler. Okay, you don't like the watches on this side? Don't worry, I got more coming in a little bit.
I still think they're good. I think playing one of those guys is probably good chalk still. Like Williams, Kelly, Jefferson are looking at your top 3 running back, wide receiver ownerships on the week, and that makes sense. People are going to want to attack this game. Keenan Allen's 6th, so it's not like you're even with him up in 7,600. People are playing all of these guys. You're looking for side door points. Then you start thinking about, okay, secondary Minnesota players, maybe getting involved with some tight ends, and things like that. I think that's, you'd have to go kind of that tertiary tier of skill position guys in this game to get those side door points. I think Hawkinson's interesting for sure. And we can look at it from that way, but it's that. And then, but I agree with you on all these other quarterbacks. I mean, I was doing my first look show and I took a look at Lamar's profile for this week, and I'm like, damn, man, he looks awesome this week. Like, first of all, he looked good last week, and it was good to see Lamar look like himself for the first time in a while. But threw the ball 33 times. And ran the ball 12 times, right? That's the kind of thing you need from Lamar. 54 yards on the ground, didn't go into the end zone, but we just saw what freaking CJ Stroud did sitting back in the pocket to this team. And, both Nico Collins and Tank Dell, shout out to you for being on both those guys last week, were viable. Like Nico was optimal. I think getting involved in this Ravens offense makes a ton of sense. Same thing with the Chiefs. People always have this debate in DFS. If you're a team that's favored by 12, 13, 14 points, does it make sense to attack you because you can't be pushed? My argument is, well, look at that Chiefs team total. It's 30.5. It's 3 points higher than any other team on this week. If they're going to reach that and reach this spread, right, and cover this spread, in all likelihood, that's coming through the air. So I think you could really make an argument for all these guys. The question is, what does your construction look like if you're spending up a quarterback at 7,700 for Lamar, 8,300 for Mahomes? It makes it difficult. And maybe we can mess around with some of those different constructions. But if you're mass entering, or even if you're just doing like 20 max or whatever, I would have exposure to all these different builds because yes, you want that mid-tier and cheap quarterback savings, but don't ever forget the ceiling that those top-tier quarterbacks give you when they hit 40 points. You can't, the price doesn't matter at that point. You need that guy. So, yeah.
Yeah, and there, like I said, are just so many different juicy matchups to potentially choose from. And, yeah, it's going to be hard to wiggle them in there. So I guess we will see about that. We have, a couple different injury designations that could also play a role up in here
this season. Man,
why don't we do something that
crazy?
Oh my God, that was I guess that will lead us into. By the way, that injury forced me to look at his previous injury. Is there anybody who owns 2 of the most disgusting freeze frames of all time? Like his college injury, unless I saw a Photoshop, it looks like somebody Photoshopped the knee backwards. And to have, I swear to you, I'm like, no, that's a fake.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, that's a fake meme picture. And then I went to see the video. I'm not one of the people who likes to, it's like horror movie style. I'll watch right up to the moment. Now, I like horror movies, but as soon as the moment's about to happen, I say, okay, I see what was about to happen. That's enough for me. And he is a very unproud owner of 2 of the most disgusting moments of all time. And I'll shift off of that and back into
I agree.
Biggest
go ahead. I got it.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say my thing with those injuries is like I need to watch them once, and there's always everyone on Twitter being like, "Do not post the injury, do not post the injury," and I agree with it. But if I missed it, I want to see it once, and then I never want to watch it again.
Those scumbags watched it themselves. So I love how they're first into it. I need to see this. Don't tell me I can't see this, and then they see it and go, "None of you can watch that," despite me not taking that exact advice. I hate everybody. Anyway, going back into advice.
I agree with you. Yeah.
So the last 2 weeks. There have been I truly hate everybody because they don't realize that they do something like that. Like if you repost that you went on and looked for it immediately. If nobody looked for the post of it like you, then this wouldn't be an issue. Anyway, there's been 2 failing running backs that everyone has played in back-to-back weeks, maybe even 3. Last week was Josh Kelly didn't work out. Dillon didn't work out, and the week before that, who was the blah? I forgot who the chalk one was week one because there was some sort of major discount, but it didn't work out. Damn it! And this week, it's going to be the Browns running back Ford.
Oh yeah.
So Jerome Ford,
big time.
Was there an Isaiah Ford? Was there an
Maybe.
Isaiah Ford on the Giants?
Was he a Dolphin?
Oh God, once these
Wow,
names
he was a Dolphin. I am like the weird things that are just like stuck in the back of these brains as football fans that have been doing this for a long time. It's like gross. Can I just like learn how to freaking invest my money properly instead of remembering that Isaiah Ford played on the Dolphins? Like that would be nice, right? Oh my God.
You know what? That's a perfect thing for you to say. And I amazed myself the other day. I've always looked at myself as, oh, Andy, you're a pretty creative guy. You're not like the Elon Musk type of
fraud,
brain or just like, it's not like you're going to talk to me and it's like, oh, look at this guy. He's an elite scientist. He has the mind of one of those elitists.
Yeah, the Oppenheimer people wouldn't have recruited you to come to Los Alamos.
Yeah, but I wasn't an idiot. I went to a top 75 school, but still, I'm in the chalk. I'm in the majority chalk department in terms of intellect. However, on Sunday, I learned something very weird about myself, and my friends are very much Charlie Bucket players. Just a few lineups. They're like our producer. All right, guys, here's my one lineup for the week. All of them pulled up their lineups, and they listed every single player, and I told them the price immediately. I memorized every DraftKings price, every player. I said, "Who? Hunter Renfrow?" I was like 38. It didn't matter. 3,000s, 4,000s, 5,000s. I remembered every single price. I can't remember people's name if I go on a date with them, and it really taught me: A, I'm a piece of shit, but B, if I really care, 100%, 100%. But if I really care about something, it's amazing the amount that I can remember. I've walked into a room and I don't know why I'm there. Straight up Alzheimer's. But I can remember every price on DraftKings, and I'm not bullshitting you. My friends couldn't believe it. Either could I. I'm saying this, and I was like Shia LaBeouf in Transformers when he was in front of the room, like, he carried the expert, and the machine is running his mind. It was like somebody else took over. It was insane. Anyways, anyone going to be playing Jerome Ford out there?
We share that, man. Like, we have the exact same. I've been saying it forever. I mean, since I was a little kid, I used to write like basketball players and baseball players like statistics in like a fucking notebook just for fun in my room, and I'd memorize every single person's thing, but I couldn't fucking tell you what I learned in Spanish class the day before or whatever because I didn't give a shit. But anything I actually care about, I retain like a fucking sponge. It's ridiculous. So I guess I care about Isaiah Ford and the fact that he was a Dolphin
So Jerome Ford he has to be projecting as massive.
So we haven't made many chases. We just put our ownership projections out late last night. We're gonna have big adjustments to them throughout the day. So right now he's actually coming through as a fourth highest on running back. That's not going to be right. We have Josh Kelly, Tony Pollard, Travis Etienne, and Raheem Mostert ahead of him, so fifth highest. That's not right. He'll be top 2 or 3 at 4,800. The difference is, here's the problem. We have the exact same situation we had with Josh Kelly last week. Excellent role. Offense we believe in. Terrible matchup, right? The Titans are stout against the run and a pass funnel. So if I'm attacking Cleveland, why am I not doing it with Deshaun Watson and Amari Cooper and David Njoku and these guys? Now, the difference with Jerome Ford is, especially they just bring in Kareem Hunt. I don't know if he's going to be active this week. Like, I don't think they really have anyone behind it. Pierre Strong, special team guy, had some draft capital, but he would spell him on early down. So Ford will be involved in the pass game. And this is why I think there's a chance, especially with how Deshaun Watson looks right now, because he just looks kind of lost as a Browns quarterback. He wants those checkdowns, I think, at the moment. There's a chance that we just have a higher floor on Ford than we did on Kelly last week. And again, this is kind of apples to apples, right? It was like 5K versus 48K, 4,800, same exact opponent. I like Ford better as a talent as well. I was in my best ball season. I hate being this like chalk donkey, but like first look, it looks like okay chalk to me. On other hand, there's a lot of options for you at running back this week, and a lot of guys in that 5K range. But the difference between Jerome Ford, say, and getting up to Zach Moss again at 5,500 or Josh Kelly at 5,400, like those $600, $700, $800 probably make a huge difference on this slate. So Ford, to me,
they do.
If you need that plug and play option, it's going to be hard to get away if you're like trying to squeeze in those top tier quarterbacks, as you mentioned.
I also agree with you with your talent assessment. When you look at Josh Kelly, he didn't soak in any of those Austin Eckler targets. I
Right.
look at him as more of a, I don't want to use the word, but I'm going to use it, plotter. I look at him as like a plotter, and then if there's a huge hole, maybe he can take it for a little bit. On the flip side, Cleveland is 100% built to run. Ford can hit home runs. He has that type of speed, and he's involved in the passing game. And as you've seen, this Cleveland team can run block against very good defenses, including on the road. And then when you think how much that Cleveland defense is going to terrorize a bottom 3 ranked offensive line with Tennessee,
Good
and
point.
if they
Very good
start
point.
getting on the field a lot, second half, you're going to see some runs pop, whether Tennessee has a good run defense or not. The same way in previous seasons, you'd see Derrick Henry pop long runs no matter who he was playing. If you're getting on the field and you're staying on the field, that defense is going to get tired. Look for some Ford second half
No,
props
great
on
point.
Sunday.
It's not only the tired thing. That's just like that's the way you should be thinking about DFS, right? You build a lineup, you want to tell it a story, right? So you want to tell it. You want to tell a story, right? So you're thinking about game script.
That's the dramatic part of Gary. Once in a while, he overblows TV shows saying they're the best things he's ever seen because he loves the drama. He loves the writing. He loves the story. And he's about to paint you a 1080p, crystal clear Jerome Isaiah Ford Sunday blueprint.
Yeah, well, I do get very excited about shows I love, but it's true, man. Game script wise,
The Americans is a top 1% show in this country's history. You cannot convince me otherwise. Keep going.
The Americans is a top 10 show, I think. The Americans is a top 10 show. Love the Americans. But anyway, Ford's an interesting play. And then I think if you do that, then maybe on the other end, you're not even looking for a bring back necessarily. Maybe it's just a solo play. Like maybe you don't want the correlation. I know you were talking last week, and I think it's really interesting. Like you really made an effort last week to make a ton of secondary correlations, and you did that throughout most of your lineups. And I think last week's slate played that way really well, right? Like you mentioned you had Zach Moss with either Nico Collins or Tank Dell a lot. You were just correlating most players in your lineup, which is what you should do.
Walker with Josh Reynolds. And I just want to say something. Anytime Detroit has been down some receivers, and you could even go back to like when Hawkinson was there, this, that, and the other. Since Goff has been there and Reynolds has been there, you could even see how often he targeted Reynolds on the Rams. There's something about the way that guy runs routes that Jared Goff trusts, and there hasn't been a game where, and I'm sure you can find one if you dig, where he's been healthy, playing a full complement of snaps in like a locked-in position. He hasn't gotten considerable looks from Jared Goff, including week 1. And I played him a ton because nobody talked about it. He had like 7 targets, and people are saying, well, who's the second option? To me, I was laughing on the inside saying Josh Reynolds, like it always has been for Goff. So just one quick little reason.
All of these, weirdly, all the chalk, like cheap receivers last week got there. Reynolds got a lot of steam towards the end of the week. Jaden Reed got there for sure. He looked really good. So like, we definitely saw a lot of the week 1 duds, week 2 stud things with like the rookie receivers. Marvin Mims had those 2 long catches, and Jaden Reed was things. So what I'm trying to figure out for week 3 of this year, and maybe something that I'll write about in my leverage column, which I have not wrote yet, is we talk a lot about week 1, trying to leverage week 1 into week 2. What about guys that failed both weeks and we still really like their outlook? And and are there week 3 studs that were week 1 and week 2 duds? And I don't know if you've kind of sniffed any of those guys out, but I'm curious.
In my video today for Odds Shopper, and we're recording this, I'll say shortly before the Giants game, I said, hey guys, that worked out great for us because I gave the over on Mike Williams, Gabe Davis, T. Higgins, and Deebo Samuel, and they all hit with that theory. I'm like, all right guys, so that worked out for us. Week 1 duds equal week 2 studs, and week 1 and 2 mediocrity equals you're probably going to go off week 3 if there's no Brandon Ayuk playing. Yeah. And I'm taking the over on George Kittle. You guys could either laugh at me or not, depending on when you watch this.
But I like it, man.
Same type of thing.
So for my Giants, like they've never been able to cover a tight end since I don't think since the 1986 team have the Giants been able to cover a tight end. So yeah.
So I've seen Kittle get off to 2 quick starts, rack up like 30 quick yards, and then for whatever reason, whether Sam Fran got ahead or whatnot, he just kind of stopped getting looks. But it's not about that because we're talking about players on this slate. Same type of thing. If there are players who are heavily involved, and if Jamar Chase was on the slate, that obviously would be a great example of it. But players of that echelon and caliber who it's just kind of a matter of time. When we say, or when I say, by the way, week one duds equal week 2 studs, I'm not talking about Alec Pierce. Obviously, the built-in asterisk is people who you would imagine were supposed to be key cogs within the offense, like Christian Kirk, not some random freak on the bottom of the roster. But go ahead.
So here's the name that stands out to me, and we're looking for kind of side entry, maybe not super chalk, but somewhat chalk entries into that Chargers-Viking games. The Vikings go out yesterday and make a trade for Cam Akers. Maybe that takes everyone's mind off of Alexander Mattison, who's looked absolutely terrible in the first 2 weeks. But let's not forget that this is a defense on the running side that we've been attacking for years now, the Chargers rushing defense, right? They paid him to be the starter. I don't necessarily love the talent, but Cam Akers just comes in. I don't know if he'll be active at all. Ty Chandler has not had a big role to start. I think they want to establish that run game. They know that's still how they want to beat them. Everyone's playing Kirk Cousins. Everyone's playing Justin Jefferson. Everyone's playing Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Josh Kelly. Madison's coming through with like a modest 14 to 14% ownership right now, which is totally fine as a way to get exposure to that game. He's now below sub 6K. That's the one that really stands out to me this week. It's like
that percentage is going to go down. That's my first men's warehouse guarantee, because as somebody who I had a decent amount of him in there as I was doing those early $1 lineups just to see what my initial sniffs were. I'm like, all right, his first 2 matchups were awful. He's looked bad, but you're talking about the Eagles and the Bucks, who just happen to have great run defenses every year. Yeah. I don't know who they are defensive coaches with stopping the run, but that guy needs some sort of promotion. But this would have been a great bounce back spot. Then, as I've heard people from your company say, there are a limited amount of running backs who play goal line and 2-minute drill, and that has extreme value. It's like the opposite of James Cook, and that in and of itself should provide worth. And yeah, I mean, Akers, maybe he'll spell him like one. Cam Akers is slower than Gary, and I would not be worried whatsoever about him. It's more so what if they are one of the most pass happy teams in the league.
Away. Right. If game environment gets away, that's what you're worried about.
Well, it's not going to get away because the biggest asshole, the only guy, first week of the year that no players made me sick, only Brandon Staley. Imagine that. Dude, I'm sick because of the coach.
By the way, I hate those people that say, "Oh, I don't want anyone to lose their job. I hate when anyone loses their job." But let's be real. Football coaches, these guys lose their jobs all the time. Like, as media people, like
the Bears defensive coordinator apparently Peanut Tillman broke into his house with the FBI and said, "You're doing garbage out there." No, I don't know. I don't know what the hell happened. I don't know. The Bears came out and said nothing happened. Who gives a shit?
No.
I'm just using that to make a reference.
Bad shit. But regardless, Brandon Staley, the Chargers only kept that guy because they're cash poor. I think that guy is a terrible head coach. Just brings down their ceiling by so much. And once again, I continue to be worried about Justin Herbert's ability.
He's like Joe Blow Public. They're like Joe Blow Public. They're trying to win the power sweep with like a $3 entry. There's not enough cash.
Exactly. No, seriously, it's true. So Brandon Staley makes me sick. The Chargers just can't help themselves but shoot themselves in their freaking foot every week, which kind of, I don't know. Like Herbert now. So when I first did the First Look show on Tuesday morning, I was like, okay, my guess is the field's going to go to Herbert because you get the higher power offense. You go to Keenan and Mike Williams, and you're going to stack that. But I guess that price, the difference in price, those $600 or is it $800 difference or whatever between Cousins and Herbert, has Cousins as the much higher owned quarterback. So GPP brain says, all right, fire up Justin Herbert again. I know I'm going to get my 26 points, and Brandon Staley's going to lose at the very end of the game when they give Josh Kelly I guess let's just fire up Justin Herbert again. And
I'm with you too. I'm going to do it too. I'm going to do it.
I mean, I want your take on Josh Allen because he's the kind of guy that if you look at that top tier this week, it really falls through the cracks. Doesn't look like the best spot, going down to Washington, D.C. The Commanders still have a good front seven. Has looked meh. I thought a bigger game was coming from him last week. But he's the guy that definitely would fall through the cracks here. I think he's still getting 3% ownership right now, and everyone else in that top group.
I really feel another one of the calls that I had last week, and I just can't. I don't think it was on this show. Maybe it was on the show. But if you don't believe me, go check the Odd Shopper video. Along with those week 1 duds equal week 2 studs, I said the Josh Allen game on Monday night, if they have a lead, watch the coach take the game somewhat out of his hands. Watch James Cook get an amount of carries that you would not normally see a Buffalo running back get. And I think that had to do with it. Although, Allen had a good game, did some plays where he was running around like a maniac. I do think this is a good spot for Josh Allen because you have a 2-0 team who's going to try to be competitive. And I know the front seven is good, but I'm also remembering their first 2 opponents. They had Arizona at home and then a Denver team in disarray who lost to Oakland the week before, or Las Vegas, who the Bills just crushed. And on the road, I believe, is always going to be more likely you're going to get Jackal Josh Allen on the road. And I view Jackal as a good thing in terms of fantasy, running around, winging it, because this isn't the Jets defense. You can say whatever you want about Washington's defense, but it isn't the Jets defense. And I think you have the opportunity. Also, Gabe Davis had his nice week last week, relatively quiet for Diggs. For me, I can see an easy Allen with Diggs and Kincaid double stack. Tight ends on the road I typically like, and then you can bring McLaurin, who looked a little better last week against a pretty good secondary, at like 5,600, I believe he is. And if that's me already remembering prices, now you know what I'm talking about with this damn weird memory. So that's a good double stack that I've been looking at, a sneaky one with all these quarterbacks. Man.
No one's
and
going
along
there.
with,
I will intentionally get over the field on Josh Allen this week just because of the ceiling mixed with the fact that the field is looking the other way. So I second. We don't have to stay on this too long because I second everything you just said. I don't, whether it's Kincaid or Knox, or even if you wanted to throw Cook in the double stack, whatever. I like a double Josh Allen with McLaurin would be the guy. Dotson's been disappointing so far. I think McLaurin would be the bring back.
McLaurin's been disappointing too, and I think he's still away. I think he's inching closer to a breakout. Remember, he had that turf toe, and now he had that preseason. Got through week 1, a little better week 2. You want week 1 and 2 mediocrity equals week 3 studs? McLaurin's a prime candidate.
Although you need to save money. Did I read somewhere that Logan Thomas might not play this week?
Well, Kincaid is very cheap, and McLaurin's pretty cheap. 5,600 for McLaurin.
Oh yeah, okay.
And now
Logan Thomas is out. So Cole Turner, man, freaking talented, athletic.
There we go.
You want your ugly sniffs, 2,700. You need to save money. Like he's going to be, I always get a sub 3K tight end in my player pool because you need that, especially when you're spending up a quarterback. He'll be the guy for me this week for sure. I was hoping Logan Thomas would just retire because I wanted him to have the role to himself anyway. But
he's one step closer.
It's like the Cardinals with Zach Ertz. They can't help themselves but throw this guy out there every week.
Who? The guy with the tight end with the second most receptions in the NFL?
Yeah, it's a fucking 8. My brother-in-law turned to me last week when I was watching the game. He's like, Zach Ertz going to be the best tight end on the slate. I'm like, when he has 8 for 29, he's going to be the best tight end in the slate.
I got news for you. How is that going to change this week when they're playing that defense and when you have a scared quarterback? I do think you're going to get some, especially if they're down by their double-digit underdogs. He's going to take the easy underneath throws.
Yeah, no, listen, Ertz is a fine play. I just don't think there's a ceiling there, and he's now priced up into that mid tier.
Oh, are you kidding me? He's Mr. Clean. That's the floor. He's Mr. Floor guy. If you need
if you're in smaller field stuff, go for it. Play Zach Ertz. I'm not playing Zach Ertz in large field tournaments.
Now, another question for you. I mean, there's just so many different ways you can go. Trevor Lawrence screwed a lot of people last week. Now they're welcoming Houston. Is that enough? Everyone seems like they're going to be high owned.
Yeah, no, I mean, and Lawrence is a guy who hasn't cracked 20 points yet this year, 70, but he's thrown the ball 73 times through 2 weeks. Like, if you told me Trevor Lawrence was going to have 73 dropbacks through 2 weeks and is going to have scored a total of 29 points, I would have laughed in your face. I mean, I would have said, we're at 40, 45 points there combined. He has 10 and 18 DraftKings points through 2 weeks. Let me take a look quickly at his ownership. It's a good point,
last week. Did last week, hopefully, because Ridley's still going to have some monster weeks. Something tells me he's just going to be one of the names that people love every single week. But if you tell me he's not, I will stack up on Ridley this week.
Right now, him and Kirk both looking at it like 7-8%. That's early.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk,
Are you
talk about
kidding me? I'm
field
sorry.
overreaction.
I'm sorry. I don't know what ended up happening, but I'll guarantee you that Debo Samuel was not the most owned player last year or last week, like we had suggested, or like you had told me that potentially had
I also
happened.
have some inside info on that game that it might be a better passing environment for Jacksonville than we would even think against Houston, and it's already a good one. I'll tell you off air. I have a friend that works for the Texans that told me I can't tell people until it's out, but I'll tell you off air. Anyway, just all the hint
Should we
is
edit that out?
it might be an even better. By the time you hear this, the news will probably be out. It might be an even better matchup for Calvin Ridley than we're already expecting. So, anyway, I like that a lot, and I think that's wrong because I think the industry will project them better, and I think 7% is wrong. I think it's probably more like 10-11%. But compare that
Dude,
to the
I'm
18,
in.
19% we were getting last week. I mean, yeah, totally. I'm with you. So give me.
I am in.
Yeah,
I
give me
mean,
give me Lawrence. Give me Ridley.
I would make that my Men's Warehouse pick of the week, but I just feel like that's cheating. He's having a good game. He is having a good game.
I feel like we need some sort of formula, right? Like week 1 stud plus became a week 2 dud equals week 3 underappreciated, like something like that.
You know, one of those things where people say, "Oh, you mean for this in general, or for Men's Warehouse?"
Yeah, no, like a formula, like for like when someone had a great week 1 but a terrible week 2, and then the field goes away from them in week 3. It's like I'm like thinking of like freaking.
Yeah, like a one-night stand who ghosted you, but then texts you 2 weeks later. Like this is a 2 weeks later text or something like that, or
exactly.
something that you got a lot out of right away, and then immediately forgot about, and you never should have. Something like that. Yep. But Calvin Ridley, my goodness, I can't foresee him getting a lack of targets 2 weeks in a row, especially when you saw if a guy goes relatively quiet, what they'll do. Plus, Zay Jones is a little bit dinky.
Let's break down why he'd fall through the cracks, and I think maybe it's more to do with the options ahead of him, right? So everyone's playing Jefferson, everyone's playing Keenan Allen, Mike Williams is cheaper than him. Let's think of the guys above him. So everyone's playing Keenan Allen and Jefferson. Amon-Ra is questionable, I guess, right? So we don't know what's going on with him. I think a lot of people are going to play Tyreek. In that Miami-Denver game is projecting well. Russell Wilson's projecting well. Tua is going to continue to project well in Miami. So a lot of people are going to play Tyreek. And then I guess, I don't know. I guess it's all just that Jefferson, Keenan Allen. Everything's going to condense around that Vikings Chargers game. So I think guys like Ridley might fall through the cracks a little bit. So yeah, I'm with you on Calvin though.
You know what's crazy? Another guy on that team. Look what Zach Moss just did. No, I'm sorry. They played. Wait, who did Indy played Houston last week, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so, look what he did to their run defense. And then ETN is at a price where people probably aren't going to play him with everybody that's on this. So yeah, Moss, this isn't a Moss thread. This is a ETN
the Moss
thread.
Thing though, just to say, like, clearly the Colts were not happy with their current options because Zach Moss played 100% of snaps last week in his first game of the season or whatever. So,
well, apparently he got a ton of work towards the end of the year. Jackson ruined his opportunity with like 2 fumbles. To me, the reason I played so much of him is it makes sense, and it's not a matchup that scares you. So,
you know what I found out last night?
I'm not surprised at all.
Did you know he's the cousin of Sonoris and Santana Moss? Now you do.
Well, by golly.
There's your fun fact of the day.
Well, do you know that Jerome Ford and Isaiah Ford are distantly related to Gerald Ford?
What about Henry Ford?
I'm out of Fords. I don't know any other Fords.
We digress. What were we talking about? Oh, receivers. Yeah. So Ridley's a good play. Kirk's a good play.
Yeah. I was talking about the Moss. We were talking about Moss against that run defense. Yeah.
ETN's a great play. I think we have him projecting for a little bit of ownership right now, but again, I don't know how much he could possibly get steamed up with everyone trying to squeeze money in. So he's projecting as our 3rd best running back play of the week, just behind Josh Kelly and Tony Pollard. So if we're projecting him that well, the rest of the industry is probably going to project him that well. And then the problem with that is when a sub-7 guy just is projecting as such a strong value. They will gain a little bit of steam.
There is a natural progression to be made right now because you just mentioned Tony Pollard, who you guys view as one of the best plays. And I imagine most people agree when you look at his workload and how efficient he's been with it. With that said, I would like to introduce a borderline. To me, this can't possibly be a highly utilized stack. And if so, I'm going to have to give a certain guy credit, and that his name is Joe Blow Public. Dare I say, this guy is starting to get with the program, and I didn't tip him off. I didn't text him to the side and say, "Why don't you do some of this?" He's bringing, I think, a decent stack to the table. I only know his stack, and why don't we, if we have Joe Blow Public available to put up here? Okay, vape and all.
What's up, guys?
Don't those things like kill you? Aren't they way worse than cigarettes?
Yeah, I think it would just come to the point where they're both equally as bad. One, you just get the traditional lung cancer. One, you get the vape lung, which is like deteriorating your lung from the inside. I don't know. Either way, don't smoke or vape, kids. Terrible.
This is a great lesson as to why people get a ton of makeup on the top of their heads if they're bald in studios. Look what happens if you shine too brightly on it. You turn into some conehead.
Joe Blow Public. I don't know what to do anymore. I mean, I improved last week, but now I took up vaping. I don't know what to do. I just want to cash. Turned 20 into $38. So I got a new lineup. But it's only Wednesday, and I might need, some help from you guys because I got to make some changes. I'll keep the lineup. I really don't like it. I do not like this week. I don't like this lineup, and I don't like myself. So I'll read it off to you. Here we go.
Guys, regardless of how the first couple of weeks have gone, the thing is, he should be very proud. If you remember last week, he had Anthony Richardson, who was on his way to being the top quarterback of the week.
Oh, easy. If he doesn't get hurt, he breaks the slate. He had 17.75 points in the first quarter. He breaks the slate if he doesn't get hurt. But who else did he have?
He had Deebo
Evans.
Samuel. He had Deebo Samuel in his lineup.
Evans was super sharp.
And he had Evans, who we both criticized. That we're like, yep, I guess he just chose whatever was left for his flex. And then I believe he had Kincaid, a couple other guys. But for the most part, it's not like it was some extremely high-scoring week. And especially he got unlucky with the quarterback situation. Major improvement from week 1 to week 2. I don't know why he's so depressed. He should be happier because even if he didn't cash in some of those lineups, it's more because of bad luck and Richardson leaving other than like, oh, he made a disastrous quadruple double stack from in and out.
But look at the face that you have the pause on, right?
Yeah, the frown eyebrows depression.
Look at this face. Oh, poor Joe Blow Public. We're going to get it right for you, Joe. We're going to figure it out.
But he should cheer up. He did a pretty good job.
But you know what he said. He just wants to turn 20 into 38. Like that's all he's trying to get. He hasn't gotten there yet. So he's just trying.
All right, at quarterback, we have Dak Prescott versus the Cardinals. Feels like a great matchup. I'm going to pair him with CeeDee Lamb.
Now, my initial thought is I'm proud of that stack. We just talked about a million good quarterbacks who can break the slate. We haven't seen the offense click on all cylinders. They're going to be getting Cooks back. A matchup that's mouthwatering. My guess is that offense wants to show that they can flourish as well. You saw that defense get up for last game. You think they're going to get up for this game to beat the Arizona Cardinals over there? It's obviously indoors. Ideal, optimal environment. Is Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb going to be a popular stack when, if anyone's going to be touching this game, they want Tony Pollard against that defense?
No, yeah, it won't be popular at all. It won't be popular at all. And I also think people like to box score watch, right? And you see like, oh, when they beat the Giants 40-0, he only had 4 for 77. But defensive scores and the defense just dominates those games. Like it's, if, we saw a 30-10 game with the Jets last week and he had his 11 for 143. So I don't care. I think they're one of the best teams in the league right now. They're going to continue to blow people out. But I think week 2, what we saw of CeeDee Lamb is more indicative of a blowout type box score than week 1 was. So I have no issues with it.
That's a major step in the right direction. Remember, this is Joe Blow Public who put that out there. He stayed away from Mahomes, Allen, all these guys, Lamar.
Chargers, Vikings, yeah.
Great start, Joe. Let's see. Hold on. It could be a disaster from here.
I mean, this feels really chalky. But, Dak's still a pretty decent price. It makes sense to me. All right? So, like I said, I don't know what to do, guys. I don't know what to do. Joe Blow Public is, I might be living in this basement by the end of this football season at this rate. Anyway, let's move on. We're going to go Travis Etienne at running back.
Look at this! Another, in my opinion, smart play.
Yeah.
This is wild.
He's going to be, he projects very well. We like him for sure.
The Texans, I'm still banking on Etienne to have a big game. I think against Houston, it's a good matchup. We're going to go next running back. We're going to go Mostert versus the Broncos. It feels like another good spot. Mostert's been really good. He's averaging 20 fantasy points a game. Moving on, we'll go to wide receiver Jordan Addison from Minnesota versus the Chargers. Figure high school game.
That's what I'm most proud of.
When they're doubling
Talk
on
about
Jefferson,
the side door points.
Yeah, but I mean, Mostert in a game where people are going to love Tyreek. All these plays are getting like thumbs up here, man. He's going to Hollywood if this is like the voice for the hell.
Most will be popular. But
okay.
It's a good play. It's not a bad play. But Addison, that's like a real sneaky one, right? I think, again, we're looking for the side door points in that game.
Killing it out
even
there.
KJ Osborne's looking at more ownership than Addison because of this price. So, yeah.
By the way, he runs just as many routes, if not more. And
he runs
if that
more.
game is high scoring.
Addison, obviously, higher ceiling for sure. So,
yeah.
Now we're going to go Nico Collins versus Jacksonville. He's been a big hit this year. Again,
so he's going a secondary stack. I don't even think I'm not sure if he knows he's doing this, but that's solid. Etienne, Nico Collins, 11 targets week 1, massive production week 2. If you think Jacksonville is going to get right and score, so often Houston's going to be playing from behind, and that's worked towards the advantage of their receivers in the first couple of weeks. I like where he's at so far.
High scoring game. I imagine, he's going to get targets. Again, guys, I just don't know. I mentioned Lamb, CD Lamb. I'm going to try to get through this. Tight end Dalton Kincaid.
What has happened to him? What has happened to him in his personal life? What is going on? This shouldn't be lineup depression. This is a next tier.
Going to go to him again.
I love where he's taking Joe Blow. Like Joe Blow's like out on the streets soon. I don't know what's going on there.
Just hates himself and his lineups.
He's getting targets. I'm still going to ride him. I'm going to go Brian Robinson and flex verst Buffalo. I really don't know what to do with flex.
Did we miss someone?
He's going to get targets. Again, guys, I just don't know. I mentioned Lamb, CD Lamb. I'm going to try to get through this. Tight end Dalton Kincaid. Going to go to him again.
So I'm back to Kincaid.
Versus Washington. He's getting targets. I'm still going to ride him. I'm going to go Brian Robinson and flex versus Buffalo. I really don't know what to do with flex.
Well, I would like to fill in there. If memory serves me correctly, now this is one I don't remember, damn it, but I believe I will remember by Sunday. Brian Robinson has to be around 5,800 after a huge week like that, 57, something around there. And if that is the case, if this is your flex position, just ask yourself in a matchup versus the Bills, if Kincaid is going off. I understand playing Robinson in the flex, but I would rather play McLaurin hoping he really hits his ceiling. I think his ceiling is higher than Robinson's ceiling. I know that seems ridiculous after Robinson just banged out almost 102 touchdowns, but with the Bills defense out there, I would prefer putting McLaurin there, who's roughly around the same price. Are they close?
I agree. Yeah. Robinson's 58. I agree.
Oh, I did know Robinson's. That's sick. I'm sick.
No, I definitely agree with you. I think it's actually an easy one. I something else that I want to explore: mid-tier guys that have 2 huge weeks in a row. What are the chances in week 3 that we triple down on it? This isn't like a superstar. I think he's going to be a good.
I don't know. Insert Josh Jacobs last year.
Yeah, right. But he was a guy that at least had some pedigree, and But regardless, it's. I get the thought, and I probably want a piece of that game if I'm attacking it as a different way. But I agree with you. I'd rather take the pass catcher.
The amount of money I had left here, defense. We're going to go Jets versus New England. New England looks, I mean, they showed some fight last week against Miami, but I think the Jets defense, hearing a lot of flack this week about not being such a shutdown defense, I could see them, putting it to the Patriots. So let's go Jets defense and we get a defensive touchdown. Mac Jones doesn't look very good. So last week, here's the positive. We went up from the week before. I didn't finish a millionth. I finished 102,000. That is improvement. 127 points. I think I was about 15, 20 points away from cashing. Can I get to 150 this week with this lineup? I don't think so. I really don't. But this is the base. I'm sticking with it. Joe Blow Public. We'll see you on the other side.
All right.
Right, Joe. Thanks for the hard work.
Thanks, Joe. I will say, whether that works or not, that's the thing. Sometimes McLaurin can go out there and have 4 for 50 again. You have to take the calculated risk, though, that his ceiling, and if it does hit at the right time, that's what you're looking for. Joe Blow did a great job in my opinion. Not even just an okay job. That's a lineup I'd fully be okay with submitting. I may even submit it with a slight change just to, that's how much I really agree with this lineup, unless I'm incorrect. But what do you think?
By the way, I am very fine with Jahan Dotson as well in large field. You get a $700 discount on McLaurin. This is still a guy that's, first round pick, running every route. So if you need to save even more money and you're attacking that game, I think that's fine. But I agree with you. And I agree with Joe Blow. And listen, I think he's learning, right? Week 1, he comes out with the quadruple Charger stack or whatever. And then we got the triple, and we got this, we got that. And here we are. We are only 3 weeks into the season. He takes a more contrarian game stack that we think is decent. He throws in some plays that we like. Listen, Joe, don't get so down on yourself. I think you're learning and you're doing a good job. And just because your wife might leave you soon, it's okay.
One last thing. I know he doesn't have the highest ceiling, but at a position that kind of stinks, I would not mind flopping out Kincaid for Ertz, simply because if Dak is killing it, that means there will be a ton of checkdowns underneath available late in that game. Just one last thing to throw in that lineup before I spring my rather unique Men's Warehouse pick of the week on you guys. There's the automatic Men's Warehouse pick of the week, simply if those percentages hold in Calvin Ridley, but that's something you didn't have to be told that. In my opinion, people are still going to see Ridley and see him playing Houston after a relatively bad week. What a great matchup. He'll kill him. But I have a real sneaky one. This one borders between Men's Warehouse of the week and a Clarendon sniff of the week. Yeah, I brought back the Clarendon sniff. And that is a guy I've ripped on. Well, I've ripped on analysts for being just creaming themselves over this guy for 3 straight years. But I foresee a sneaky good week from Javonte Williams of the Broncos on the road against the Miami Dolphins. He was the only running back other than 1 carry. He received every carry other than 1 last week. I know the initial, him and P. Ryan splitting time, come back, torn ACL. Well, in a game they really need to play well and really need to win. He got off to a quick start last game, and then the Broncos just fell out of that game. I believe if they get off to a similar start, they'll continue to use him. Peyton uses his running backs in the passing game. He had, I think, 3 targets, 2 catches. Don't be surprised if there are a couple of screens. He's the type of back who will be good on the goal line against a team that can kind of push. I also believe they're going to utilize the run game to keep Tua and that offense off the field, keep them out of rhythm. I really like a guy that I'm finally happy to say I like him this week, because the analysts are finally off him this year as a whole. But I'm taking Javonte Williams at his price in the mid 5,000s against Miami as my Men's Warehouse pick of the week. You're going to like the way his old rusty knee and apparently otherwise healthy body looks.
I guarantee it.
That's a good one. We can talk a lot about that game, but I'm going to be attacking that game for sure. And even Russell Wilson, who I am not a huge fan of, is showing that he can get to this floor that you need in this mid-tier range under Sean Payton. He was a viable quarterback last week. I think the Millie Maker winner had Russell Wilson as their quarterback, actually. So, no, it was probably Daniel Jones. Some tournament winner had Russell Wilson. But regardless, I think that's a fine game to attack and a fine choice. I didn't know who I was going to go with, but I just was sorting through this, and I have my pick. mentioned Jerome Ford being a really popular play, and I think we both think he's okay chalk. But how do we like to attack Tennessee every week? It's through the air. Who do we have now at a sub 6K price who almost was supposed to miss last Thursday night and still got 10 targets and 7 for 90, and now he's 5,700 and no one's going there at all. And this is kind of the way I want to attack this game. Give me Amari Cooper. We're looking at like 8% ownership right now. Look totally fine. And again, I think this is the game that they want to get established through the air, right? If it's not going to have, they need to get Deshaun Watson some confidence. This is a team that has high hopes, even with losing Nick Chubb. Hopefully they rally around him. I think they're going to try to just put the hammer down and dominate this game. I think Mike Vrabel's a good coach, and that doesn't let that happen, but I think they have some success today. I also like Njoku as a punt tight end at no ownership, but I like Cooper a lot here as the very clear alpha still, even with Elijah Moore and Donovan Peoples-Jones. Maybe even some more targets for him with Chubb on the sideline and kind of that being the game plan. So he's just kind of a sneaky, just kind of falls through the cracks option for you this week that I like quite a bit.
And this is going to be tough. We're essentially 4 for 4 on our men's warehouse picks of the week, but this time we're going down the these are two guys under 6K. So, we're upping our ante a little bit. If Joe Blow is going to have somewhat of a better lineup and bring a better effort to the table, then so are we. We'll see how these ones work out. Thank you guys for coming back. Week 3, really appreciate it. As always, subscribe to the show. Let other people know about the show. Hope you're enjoying it this season. And as I like to say, may the rats be with you and also with you, but that is with my sports betting picks when I say stay away from the rats. But, may the chalk be with you. Oh, wait, you're a Jew.
No, I love I'm also I'm a Jew, but I'm also a Star Wars fan. So, hey, may the chalk be with you. I absolutely love that. So may the chalk be with you. It's okay. Yeah.
And also with you, you gotta finish it.
I'm supposed to say it also with you. Okay, yeah, that I didn't get.
Yeah, I think that's our new.
You shake the hands. This is the thing I don't understand about church. Everyone hugs each other and shakes hands and turns around and I love you. You're so nice. I don't get that. That's not my thing.
Your old guy Dane Cook had a stand-up joke about that. How you would look around and you'd be like. You decide who deserves peace. But he's like, wait, no, peace be with you. I'm like, yes, with you, to steer clear of disgusting handshakes.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Anyway, all right, man, we'll be back. Next week. I appreciate you guys coming back once again. Good luck to all of you, even you, Joe Blow.
Subscription is fucking iBook. Read it. Magazine subscription as iBook. As magazine subscription as iBook. Fucking chalk.